This interview was never meant to see the light of day, and yet you are reading it now. In 1954, 1 year before his death, Albert Einstein allegedly gave a conversation that was immediately classified. To this day, official science denies the very existence of this interview, but in the 21st century, thanks to the lost archives of one of his closest friends, Dr. Kurt Gödel, these words have resurfaced. This is not just an interview, it is a confession. Reflections of a great mind on what lies beyond the final boundary, beyond death. I know how it sounds. Sensation, legend, forgery. And yet, Gödel's manuscript was discovered in the year 2022 in Princeton, in the double bottom of an old safe. The document began with the words, "These confessions may change humanity, or destroy it." The journalist, whose name remains undisclosed, asked the first question. "Professor Einstein, do you believe in the continuation of life after death?" Pause. The document notes. Long silence. A slight smile. To believe is not the right word. At my age, I prefer to know. The journalist did not expect such an answer. He continued, "But science, your science, has always denied the existence of the soul." "Not my science," Einstein corrected him. "Science, as understood by the masses, is limited to the observable. It is blind to what does not fit into formulas. And now listen carefully," he added. "What I am about to say must remain between us, at least until humanity is ready. Life does not cease with death. This is not a hypothesis. This is a fact I understood not by studying physics, but by examining the mathematical structures of time and space." The journalist could not believe his ears. "Excuse me, Professor, are you speaking of the soul, of heaven?" "I am speaking of continuation, of transformation. Imagine a wave on the surface of the ocean. As long as there is wind, it exists. But even when the wind stops, the water does not disappear. The wave is no longer visible, but its energy remains in the ocean. Human consciousness is that wave. The body is merely a temporary form in which this wave manifests. When the body dies, consciousness does not cease to exist. It returns to the ocean." It took the journalist several minutes to process what he had heard. "But how does this align with the theory of relativity?" "Ah," Einstein smiled. "The theory of relativity concerns matter and energy. But another element has always eluded the formulas, the observer. Consciousness itself is not a product of matter, it is primary. The entire universe exists because someone perceives it. This is an ancient truth, intuited by mystics. I arrived at it through mathematics. The double-slit paradox, the entanglement of quantum particles, all this points to one terrifying but beautiful thought. Consciousness shapes reality. And after death, it returns to the source, to pure perception. And if you ask me whether God exists," the journalist leaned in closer, "I will answer. God is not a person, not a bearded old man on a cloud. God is the ocean itself. The consciousness of all beings merges in this ocean. That is why no one who has ever lived disappears forever. Death is not the end. It is a return home." The journalist raised his eyes from the notebook. Somewhere outside, the wind rumbled dully. The spring of 1954 was cold and restless. "Professor, forgive my bluntness. But how can a scientist of your level assert something so metaphysical?" Einstein leaned forward. His gaze became serious, almost heavy. "You think this is faith? This is knowledge. I have observed my work on the unified field theory led me to understand there exists a single structure connecting matter, energy, and consciousness. At the beginning of the 20th century, physicists thought the atom was the indivisible brick of reality. But we were mistaken. Beyond the atom lies emptiness, beyond the emptiness yin vibrations, the hum of the vacuum, and beyond that—" Einstein paused. "Mind. Are you familiar with the Einstein-Podolsky-Rosen paradox?" "Yes, quantum entanglement. When two particles, once having interacted, remain connected regardless of the distance between them. This is not just physics. It is a hint. Connection is the foundation of existence. If particles can be connected across space, why cannot consciousnesses be connected across death?" The journalist swallowed hard. The room noticeably grew colder. "Professor, but this means—" "Yes." Einstein nodded. "Consciousness is non-local. It is not bound to the brain. The brain is an antenna, a receiver, and the source lies beyond time and space. Death is not the destruction of the antenna. It is merely the disconnection of one channel of communication. But the ether remains, like radio waves that continue to exist even if the receiver is broken." The journalist looked back at his notes. His hand was trembling. "Forgive me, but why did you decide to speak about this now?" "Because time is running out," Einstein said quietly. "I am already at the threshold, and the truth must not pass away with me. Humanity stands on the brink of the greatest discovery, the understanding that death is not the enemy, it is a transition. But if this truth becomes known too soon, it can be distorted, used for power, for manipulation. This explains my silence all these years. But I feel the era of materialism is coming to an end. Soon science and spirituality will merge. And then, a path will open. At that moment, the sound of a clock was heard in the room. It struck midnight, 12 times. The journalist noted, "These chimes seem